Agate newspaper headlines, and of course, every day we come here to bring you perspectives of what is happening in the country and beyond, and what the papers have actually carried and what they're saying. So, the reactions of my panelists here are also part of the program as well, and also contributing richly to the events that are unfolding in Nigeria. Of course, our state as well, which is part of the country. And today I have joining me on the program to discuss this. I have, on my right, I have Polycarp, and joining me for the first time on this program. And I have,
Thank you.
I have Aloysius Umalu, also of Vaughan, correspondent Vaughan, joining me. Gentlemen, you're welcome.
Thank you so much.
But just to emphasize that Polycarp is the former secretary of NBA, Makurdi branch. So how does it feel being here today?
Yeah, it feels good. At least Agate Radio is appreciating us and feels that we have something to offer. So it's a pleasure being here once again.
Okay, thank you so much. Umalu, do you have something to say?
Well, it's an honor to. I recall that I was invited to feature on a program here sometime, I think in June. I couldn't make it because I was running in and out of the hospital, and it was impossible for me to make it. But it's my honor that I have been asked to come over again, and I'm here today.
Beautiful. So today you're here. So let's go with the business of the day, and we first begin. Our first choice of the newspaper is Vanguard newspaper. It's carrying a bold headline that TSA fresh panic as FG demands 50% of aviation agencies' revenue. And the writer says, lots of damage being done to aviation at SAN, and Nigeria's reputation may have been battered. That is coming from expert. And there is need to investigate these agencies' earnings, and air transport not in danger. It's coming from the Minister Kamo. Again, you have some other papers there or some other stories to pick up there on the paper. You have police invite, above the nameplate, you have police invite NLC president over terrorism financing, a treasonable felony. And again, just beside it, you have how I am winning war against corruption. That's Tinubu making that. And just behind, below the nameplate, or rather the bottom of it, NNPC posts 3.3 trillion net profit, declares 2.1 trillion dividend. And of course, it says a day, Lagos, Osun, Oyo, Ogun declare public holiday. These are the stories we have on the headlines. But first, let's begin with the bigger stories. The federal government is saying, hey guys, the aviation agency, we need to pick some of your cash, 50% of it, and add into the revenue of the TSA. And what do you think?
Yeah, that's good because I know that that's not just a move that the federal government has sat over the night and decided to bring it up. I think that that decision is being informed by very much considered situations. They have watched very keenly the happenings in the aviation sector and feel that because the guys are making too much money, and there also may appear to have been so many leakages and some form of carelessness, and so they have decided that the best way to curtail the excesses in the aviation sector is to say, guys, come and add. You used to give us less than 50%, but now we're demanding for 50% to enable us to do one or two things. You know, the aviation sector has been in the eye of the storm for a very long time. And so if the federal government is asking them for additional, to move the revenue from what it was then to 50%, means that there are a lot of excesses going on in the aviation sector, and there's the need to curtail the excesses. So I think the sector has so much money. And so because federal government is not just asking for 50%, give us 50%, because we're also a critical stakeholder in the aviation sector. So we use this money to do certain things, certain cleaning up, and there's so many other things. You understand that the president just bought a new jet, and experts are saying the new jet alone is 15%. The one where Nigerians are calling the new jet is 15 years old. You understand? That's what they're saying. The experts are saying that the fee that we use to service this jet alone will be very exorbitant. So I think there are so many things that are going in the aviation sector, and demanding for 50% is not out of place. I think the 50% may even, part of the money may even be used to plug back into maintenance and welfare of the aviation sector. So to me, in my candid opinion, there's nothing bad about that.
And he said he thinks there's a lot of money in the aviation sector.
Yeah.
And the artisan, that is the body, the union body of the aviation sector, it's saying a lot of damage has already been done in the sector.
Yeah.
So bringing that 50% is a huge, huge negative to them. Do you think so?
Well, I don't think so. Part of the reasons why the federal government, I think, may have taken that decision is to the effect that, you see, before now, about 40% of their revenue generation was being remitted to the federal government. And, you know, the aviation industry is one of the agencies that is partially funded by the federal government. And so those that are fully funded by agencies that are fully funded by the federal government, they remit all their revenue generation wholly to the federal government coffers. But this particular agency in question is partially funded. And so federal government has decided that, look, because of the paucity of funds in the country and the nature of the nation's economy, we have to improve our revenue base. That is why they have stepped up the demand from 40 to 50%. The federal government is also trying to see how they will be able to improve accountability in that sector. That is why this decision came about.
Okay, let's go and look at some of the things. You said the increase is okay, but one major question here, many people are saying it's Tinubu is saying something that, two questions. You're a journalist.
Yeah.
And I want you to react on this, that police invite NLC president over terrorism financing and treasonable felony. What do you make of this? Because he has been in the storm of the eye, he has been in the news, going back and forth with the police, I think right from the time that he made moves of protest and all of that. So now another allegation on him is this part of his financing terrorism, and of course, a treasonable felony. I'll come to the legal aspect of it, but let me have your own take as regards
The truth of the matter is, like you pointed out, for quite some time now, this gentleman has been in the media consistently fighting for the welfare of workers in this country. Before now, nobody knew he was a terrorist or could have been involved in any act of terrorism until he began the struggle. I'm not surprised that the figure of 70,000 naira, which he walked away with in the course of the bargain to improve the welfare of workers during their meeting with the presidency, happened the way it went. A lot of explanations were given, but I think government was not very comfortable with the way and manner he went about the whole thing, to muzzle out this amount of money from government coffers. Remember when they came out, Labour informed Nigerians that in the course of their negotiations, there was this threat by the president to give 250,000 naira, which they were demanding, and then increase the cost of fare, or to leave it at that 70,000 naira, which made them to, in the interest of Nigerians, to back out, to accept the 70,000 naira as it were. In the course of the End Bad Governance protests, the man was equally at the forefront, even though he did not personally participate or mobilize the organized labor to take active part in the protest. However, his comments did not go down well with the federal government. You will also recall that shortly after the End Bad Governance protest was over, security operatives besieged the office, only for the Inspector General of Police to come out a few days later to announce that indeed there was a high-profile criminal within the vicinity of the labor house that they were trying to track down, that the heavy presence of security operatives in that area was not actually to go after the labor officials, but that a foreigner was somewhere within the vicinity and they were looking out for him. So by and large, I want to be of the view that
It's a clear case of witch hunt.
Witch hunt. It is a clear case of witch hunt. They do not mean well for that man because of his hard stance.
Okay, okay, and let me ask you from the legal aspect of it, and also, of course, you're a friend to journalists, so. But this is what is happening. The number one journalist in the country is being accused of terrorism financing, and.
No, it's labor, not journalism.
Okay, sorry, yeah, labor, sorry.
Yeah.
The number one, I would say the number one labor man is being accused of terrorism. You think this is, he said it's a clear case of witch hunt, but you think this, what does it make sense to you in the legal parlance?
Yeah, I agree with him completely. I agree with my friend Aloysius for what he just said. I'm also in consensus with him on the issue of witch hunt, and that's clearly what is happening. Why will you invite him to come over to appear before the IRT this very day, which is Tuesday today at 10 a.m., to be interviewed by the Assistant Commissioner of Police? The reason why is it coming when Labour has given 21 days ultimatum to the federal government that if of strike? Do you understand? Like he said, this has followed up. There's a build-up to this very day. You didn't accuse this man of terrorism financing. You didn't bring any allegations of terrorism against him until Labour has given the federal government 21 days notice of the intention to proceed on strike. Do you understand? It's very funny. Funny in the sense that if you look at the facts and circumstances surrounding this allegation, you know that it's very funny. In the sense that there was a raid on the NLC headquarters. And then today you are hearing that there's an invitation. And they say they invest as a result of ongoing. If you suspected that members of NLC were involved in certain felonious acts, why did you not write to the Labour president asking him to bring or come along with some of the staff for which you know? Must you go and raid the premises before you extract information or any criminating thing on NLC? So we have gone past the level of incivility to this kind of uncivilized way of behaving. If you have any allegation against somebody, you can simply write. And I don't even like the tone of that letter in the first place. Because one of the paragraphs says, if you don't appear, we will then seek a warrant of arrest to bring you. Why are they anticipating or why are they believing that he may not appear? So the tone of the letter is not, in itself is prejudicial. I don't really understand. So there's basically no need. The Constitution has provided copiously for that the man has the right, whether they sponsored and bad governance. That was what it was, a clearing call for all Nigerians. That come out. Let us come and tell the federal government that we don't like what you're doing. You understand? So if it turned out violent, that was not the intention. I'm sure that was not the intent and purpose of those who called for the protest. They only wanted to present their grievances, which are very common to every Nigerian, to the federal government to say, we don't like what is happening. Will you find a better way of addressing this thing because the penury is becoming too much? So inviting the Labour, the president of the Nigerian Labour Congress to appear before the police, to my mind, is rather aggravating the issues. Because by the time because there are ongoing negotiations. They have not come to a consensus clearly about what is going to happen. So Labour is still going to be aggrieved. And by the time they feel aggrieved, he appears there, you will no longer have the platform to be able to sit down together with them and talk. And so I think that is very uncivilized.
In case he goes there with a huge number of people.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's going to be another
chaotic.
He wouldn't even have the confidence to go back and sit on the same table with the federal government because he feels that this is with something. And bad governance is provided by the Constitution. You have the freedom to relate. You have the freedom to assemble. So there's nothing wrong about the end bad governance protest.
Actually, yes, I wanted to add something just briefly before you move to the next story. Apart from the fact that another dimension of danger in this issue is that in the course of the End Bad Governance protest, the federal government consistently kept calling on the sponsors to come out for negotiations.
Yes.
No one came out. Now, this is an indication that if anyone had eventually shown up, they would have arrested that person instead of negotiating. So this is one dangerous aspect to it. And so in future, if there is an issue like this, nobody will want to stake his neck.
Again, the other side of when you made mention that why now?
Yes.
The question, why now?
Why now?
You understand that
Why
federal
now?
government had published names of those those financing
Finance, yes.
terrorism. I don't know whether his name was part
His
of.
name was not there. His name was not there. His name was
So
not
why
there.
the sudden?
Why the sudden? Yes, you
Maybe
understand.
more revelations.
Yes, and then you have the powers to prosecute.
Yes.
I've never seen. I've looked at the Police Act. I've looked at the guidelines and all the guidelines and the procedures for policing. I've never seen where if police is to extract any information from you, they have to go and raid your place. I don't know whether you understand. That was a raid on the premises. That's why I said there's a build up to this. There was a raid which is yet to be explained. And then there's ultimatum of 21 days that we need to, we're going to proceed on strike. And then you're coming back to say, suddenly you're coming to say, the man should come and explain himself. So you just want to go and gag him.
He's also been alleged of financing terrorism.
You understand? So all this why didn't you bring the allegations against him?
Okay, let's see how that pans out. But let's see an assuring words from the president here. One story before we go to the next is that how I am winning war against corruption. You believe the president is winning war against corruption? President Tinubu is making that statement.
Well, I don't
go through it, but your own assessment from where you are now and the impulse you felt. You think he's winning?
Well, he is actually doing his best. Like just yesterday, the member countries of ECOWAS met in Abuja. Of course, Mr. President himself wasn't there, but he was represented at that meeting by the Vice President. And they were trying to look at a regional cooperation where they would be able to track down these corrupt issues within the sub-region. I think the main target in this regard is in the oil sector. Most of the times you discover that this oil is stolen illegally from Nigeria here and then taken for refining, through the corridors of other nations within the sub-region. So they are trying to look at the possibility of, coming together to see to what extent they will be able to cooperate. There will be this regional cooperation so that they will be able to track down activities of these criminals that causing problems in our country, especially in the oil sector. Yeah, to that extent, yes. Recently, just in the early days of his administration, a female minister was accused of corruption, and he reacted immediately.
Was it immediately? Was it
Yeah.
immediately?
Yeah, it was immediate reaction because
it was.
the matter did not drag for too long before he stepped in by suspending the lady in question.
After the suspension, anyway, we'll look at after the suspension.
Well, that is a legal issue. My hands are handicapped.
Go ahead.
So, I could go on and on. I think to a very large extent, yes. The fact that we are still where we are, I think is because, when you are fighting a system, the system fights you back. So the man is actually making effort. The major problem we have in this country, especially as it regards corruption, is in the oil sector, which is given so much attention. I think we give him kudos for that.
Andy, I don't know whether you agree with him, but let me just ask you this question.
Yeah.
They say why Nigerians, the poorest of the poor, I don't know which is it, because I've always found, I'm trying to look at who is the poorest of the poor. Yeah. The people, the less privileged, and of course, if corruption is properly dealt with in this country,
yes,
even 1% of it is achieved, I think we can have it felt in other sectors as well, and the people also can feel it. Do you think what the president says, I am winning war against corruption, we're not getting the specifics anyway,
yeah,
but do you think, are there measures in your own, wherever you are seated, perhaps you're in Makurdi now, you've traveled other places as well, what are the measures you can think, okay, the corrupt person in the system?
You see, that's why they say corruption is endemic, in the sense that when we're looking at corruption, the general perspective, or the general belief by Nigerians is that it starts at the top. But it doesn't start at the top, it starts from the top to bottom and then bottom to top. That's what happens. Everybody, every Nigerian, the fight is supposed to be for everybody. It's not supposed to be just a fight within the Federal Executive Council. It should also be a fight within the governors forum. It should also be a fight within the ministers. It should also be a fight against within the commissioners, both the judiciary, the executive, and the legislature. So the question he asks is that, is he actually winning this fight? Is he winning the fight only in the executive arm of government? Has he taken the fight as far as the judiciary? Has he taken the fight, extended it to the legislature? These are the questions that we have to ask. What happens to the looted funds already? Recently, we heard that 50 billion has been donated by EFCC to the education fund. And the question people ask is that the only money that is there? So they already recovered looted funds that were recovered by Economic and Financial Crimes Commission as well as ICPC. Has this money been plugged back into the economy? Have they told you? So if you are talking about, how about the percentage that has been recovered so far? Has it improved? Has it revitalized the economy of Nigeria? Do you understand? Yeah. Since this government came into power, or during the Buhari's regime, it's the first time that we're hearing that they have taken 50 billion out of what has been recovered to plug back to the education fund. What happens to the other funds? What happens to the ones that have been recovered from other sectors or other arms of government? So if we are winning this fight, we should see. Like you say, we have not seen the specifics. Yeah. So what level of the fight? What level of achievement?
We have not seen the specific, and yes, people have not felt the impact of the winning.
Very good. So it's not just by saying it on paper. It's providing the specific for us. This is what I've done in the Federal Executive Council. This is what I've done in the executive arm of government. This is what we have succeeded in doing in the judiciary, and this is what we have done in the legislature. There's this back and forth arguments about emoluments, entitlements between the executive arm of government and the legislature, and you keep hearing it. The senators will come out and say publicly that this is what we're earning. The federal government will say this is how much we have been paying you. So let me tell you something. If this fight, before we see the dividends of this victory, it should be reflected in the average standard of living of every Nigerian.
I think one other thing
that happens.
One thing again we need to also ask ourselves is, it's Nigerians having the boldness to question the transparency of some of those monies being released to governors or any other person, particularly to do a particular thing. We understood that when the president came in, we gave palliatives 5 billion to each state. How many of the citizens in those states are questioning the expenditure of that 5 billion? And I've also heard that there are other incentives as well. Yes. And lately, before the end bad governance protest, trailers of Rise were released and all of that. I don't know whether you've gotten your
That is why I said that for you to
But
fight.
the question is, have you gotten your own first?
For where? I'm even hearing that Rice will give you for the very first day. So that's what we're into.
So the question, I think we need, Nigerians also have, I'm just thinking that Nigerians need to begin to summon the courage of asking this money. That 50 billion you're talking about, where was it spent?
You see,
how was it?
You see, I will agree with him to some extent. That the president is actually trying, because when you get the specifics like you're saying, you will discover that in terms of the intervention measures the federal government is trying, you now come back and ask about at the state level, are they actually appropriating these interventions in a manner in which it will reach out to the people? Yeah. So in the large extent, I will agree with what he's saying. Maybe this trailer was distributed, these fertilizers were also distributed, and so many things were done. So we need to also ask our governors to also account for some of these things. We need to also ask our local government chairman to also account for some of these things. That's a chain. There's a chain of distribution. So until we begin to ask questions, I don't know whether they understand. Yeah, so the president may have a pass mark, a fairly, you understand, in terms of interventions.
Umalo, you want to say something?
No, I just wanted to add that the war against corruption is not, it's supposed to be a one-man affair. Just like he pointed out, the federal government is trying its best, but it is like a ladder. It's supposed to cascade down to the ordinary level of the masses so that the impact can eventually be felt. So at the central level of central government, yes, federal government is doing its own best, and the president has consistently been announcing the effort it's making. Yeah. But at the level of states, in most cases, sometimes when you ask questions to demand for accountability, you are quickly tagged as an opponent, someone who is against the government of the day. And so I think it's important that, but the major issue here is, that has to do with corruption, is our attitude. At the end of their tenure, no single president in Nigeria has ever been held accountable for whatever corruption that took place in the course of his administration. In other climes, we hear about past presidents being sentenced to jail. It has never happened here in Nigeria. We only know that a few governors have had the cause to appear before EFCC for interrogation here and there. Two of them were in the past sentenced to prison, after which they were pardoned. But other than that, I think our laws will have to be strengthened in such a manner that the chief executives, who are the presidents themselves, will be held accountable for, corruptions that took place in the course of their leadership.
Okay.
Until we get to that level, we've not really started.
Okay, let's go to the Guardian newspaper, and that is the paper we're going to look at now. It says states 600 billion row fees stall 90 power and telecom projects. That's one part of the story. Below the nameplates, you have article says, as fuel scarcity worsens, article knocks Tinubu over subsidy and refineries delay. Dollar defies fresh interventions, consolidates at 1,600. And ASU issues 21-day strike notice over unmet demands. ASU is back. Okay, so police invites, that's the story we've taken it already, the misplaced priority of state creation, agitation, bandits kill Katsina governor's aides, others abduct 29, okay, and seize presidential jets. Experts highlight strength of Nigeria's case, caution on contractual impunity. These are the stories we have on the Guardian newspaper. The Guardian newspaper is talking about the power issue. TCN, if you go through the story a bit, you'll know that, you learn that the TCN grapples with 600 billion debts and seek legislative intervention. 7 states waive and court rule levies for telcos. So this is about the power issue and the telecommunication development in the country. Desperation of government has been sent to increase revenue profile. It may stall about 90 projects across the country and complicate efforts to increase electricity output. Generally, the crux of this issue is 60 billion debt, and that these guys are facing, the TCN. Of course, you know
it's also
problem with power.
It's also a very serious matter, because these are transmitting companies. And because they are transmitting companies, they transmit this electricity and give it to the marketers. You have so many marketers in the field. And so when they take this, when they buy this from these transmitting companies and they market them, most times they don't even pay what is there. You understand? So you also have this issue. You also have this issue of a huge debt coming from there. And you see tariff keeps increasing every day. They tell you that they increase the tariff so that they can generate so much revenue. But because the transmitting companies are not getting what is commensurate to what they are transmitting from distribution companies or marketing, it becomes a problem. So the problem is everywhere. Part of it is largely corruption, as we're talking about. Somebody sits somewhere and is busy making the sector, and you have this issue.
You don't think we should? You want to say something?
Yeah, I think part of the problem also has to do with the consumers.
Yes.
Because there is, of course, they are usually the ones at the receiving end. But you discover that a good number of people consume this light without paying. And so it becomes difficult for the companies to remit their dues. You also discover that apart from individuals, there are corporate organizations, including government offices,
Very good.
that are hugely indebted to
These companies.
these companies. And so it becomes very difficult for them to meet up with these debts.
Okay, okay. Let's go continue. Let's go ahead and see what happens on the other papers. But of course, one thing to look at it before we go to the next paper, it's the Guardian newspaper says ASU issues 21-day strike notice over unmet demands. I understand very clearly. I can remember vividly what President Tinubu said in one of his campaigns, that you ensure that strike, if I am not mistaken, I can't place it, maybe I'm not quoting him verbatim, but he made the promise that strike may not be witnessed, so it might be I don't know whether it may minimal, but at least to make sure that he curtail the strike. But now ASU is saying our demands are yet unmet, and 21 days not far from here. We're just coming back from rather, we're just coming out of the end bad government protest.
Yes.
And this is another phase 2
Yes.
of end bad government because their demands have not been met. This is another setback going into the education sector.
Yeah, it's another setback in the sense that this is a renegotiated agreement that took place between the period, I think 2009, this period, and up to this very moment, it's 2009 or 2019, and up to this very moment, the federal government has not been able to keep its own side of the bargain. And it's very bad. At least they are complaining. They brought out a list of demands, and they are beginning to tick the box. They said, yes, you have started making some attempts, you have satisfied or fulfilled some of the requirements contained in the agreement, but you are yet to do others. One of the things that I complain about is that the federal government agreed with them consensually that they will stop the proliferation of universities. Because they say you are giving approvals to so many universities, and even the ones that we have are not properly founded. Can you generate like 200 billion every, which the federal government agreed, 200 billion every month, so that we can revitalize, reconstruct these universities and bring in a situation whereby foreign lecturers can also come and stay in the university. You have not done that. We have so many end allowances that have not been paid. And so the issue is that they are beginning to look at it that the government is not coming to the negotiating table in good faith. This is purely mala fide. So they feel that there is the need. And the law says that they can give the notice, 21 notice of our intention to proceed on strike. And so they have fulfilled part of the requirements.
Do we need strike now?
We don't need any strike, honestly speaking.
This is present economy.
We certainly don't need, there is no need for that now. Because apart from the fact that, like he said, we're just coming out of one trouble, and then we are now trying to plunge ourselves into another one. It portends danger.
Yeah.
We can't afford to keep these young minds at home in this present economy and then be rest assured that things will go well. It is unfortunate. This agreement was reached between the ASU and the federal government since 2009. It has taken too much, a long time. So why is it difficult for government to, be faithful on its own part? It is worrisome. So I think...
I have a coinage, as you just said, faithful. I wanted to say unfaithful.
No.
Unfaithful federal government. It's okay, but as you rightly said, putting those people back, bringing the young guys, young minds at home now, and if any, not praying for that, if any end bad government
it comes up again.
Comes up.
Because they say an idle mind is the devil's workshop. So it's dangerous keeping these guys at home.
It's going to be,
but it's also high time that ASU begins to look for a new way of resolving this issue. Strike is becoming outdated. You understand? They should look for other ways of addressing their grievances.
But there is also an issue there that I have so much interest in. The proliferation of universities in this country, honestly, is not a good idea to me. It's like the federal government is biting more than it can chew. In some states, you discover there are as many as 2-3 federal universities. Doing what there? There's no need for all of that. If the federal government is trying to be magnanimous enough, there exist like one federal university in each of the states.
Very good.
Including Abuja.
And then, if you like, you can establish specialized universities in the 6 geopolitical zones.
Yes.
That's enough.
University of Education, University of Agriculture, and
University of Science and Technology. Every state is clamoring for University of Science and Technology. They will tell you University of Information Technology. What is the meaning of all these things?
No.
Just making government very, very exorbitant.
It becomes too bogus for government to cater for.
But the reason, it could be many reasons. One, it could be that there are no jobs. So once you create those universities, number one, you create jobs.
Are they actually
If
creating
you
jobs? What's the percentage
provide-
of what you want to look at the macro indices in terms of, say, employment? Has there been any improvement? Go back and look at the records. Has there been any improvement? Has proliferation of universities reduced the level of unemployment? Has it
At all,
reduced
it has
it?
not helped.
Why you look at this, the record? It's not.
Okay, let's go to. I think I've got signals that we have to go on break at the moment, and but before that, let's take this newspaper before we go on the break. So the Punch newspaper is next, and says the big bold headline here says, "Tankers besiege depots as petrol shortage worsens." An independent outlet, as the writer says, independent outlets sell at 950 per litre as black markets hit 1,400 per litre. Many fuel trucks yet to load, and NNPC not supplying enough petrol yet. Ipman. Okay, that's the story. And below it, you have NNPC posts 3.3 trillion profit, declares 2.2 billion dividends for 2023 when petrol is not there. Okay, that is the question we ask. Openification, Ogun plans, Kara markets, relocation, mobile court, and NLC protests as police probe Ajero for terrorism financing. That's what we're talking about. NLC now coming with a protest, so it's going to be a very difficult one. If NLC goes on protest, there's nationwide. It's going to be nationwide. It's going to be massive. So they better not touch the sleeping lion, yeah? Because that tail will be. Okay.
You were seeing the rider.
Yeah, I've said the rider. But let's go to the top of the Nation, the Punch newspaper. Above the nameplates, you have Tinubu panel, Dangote refinery agree on September petrol rollout. And September, but in one of the papers,
yes, said in October.
October.
Yeah, they said October. Yes, the supply. Yeah, we start. Yes, since October.
In October. Yeah. So I don't know how it's going to be possible to roll out. Some
when you begin to see some bit of inconsistency, it tells you of the insincerity of the government.
Okay.
And then you hear it. Can you see the irony? They are saying there's no, look at fuel tankers besiege the depot, there's no petrol. They can't even load. Fuel shortage, petroleum independent outlets sell at 950, black market 1,400, and then NNPC is declaring a profit of 3.something trillion. That is in 46 years that you have had this kind of dividends. For this is take away, plus or minus the expenses and everything. Taken away, this is what is remaining, 3.3 trillion. And then, can you see the run on the play on certain issues? We don't have fuel. You have removed subsidy. You're talking about so many things within the same petroleum sector, and you're declaring this profit. So this profit would have been enough to pick part of it and then sort out some of these problems that we're talking about. So can you see? Yes. Can you see sometimes we begin to wonder whether we're in the right direction or what is really the problem? Because there's this proposal, there's this statements and there's this counter situations, and you hear it. I don't really need to describe it, but this mixed degree of both facts and falsehood. You understand? So it becomes very. Look at how much profit NPC is declaring.
3.3 trillion.
You understand? And look at what is happening at the level of they can't get fuel, tankers can't get fuel. There's less shortage of it in supply. So we really don't know. But we need to get it right. We need to get it right.
Before you respond, let me just, okay, maybe I should allow you to respond to it before we can go to
well, I was very excited when I saw that humongous figure. But my worry is, how are we going to apply this profits? What is it going to be used for? Of course, what they have declared is what, maybe the excess, what they have decided to give to us. Only God knows how much they actually got and have taken away, and then they decided that, look,
make this one public.
Make this one public.
Let's cover it up.
Yes.
Our worry is not even what they have declared. Our worry is that
how they are going to utilize it.
How they are going to utilize it.
So that it will reach
the common man.
If they like, they would have told us.
The normal phrase they would have use the poorest
of the poor.
I don't know whether, gentlemen, you can help me to understand that phrase. The poorest.
Sometimes even when they mention that expression, when I hear that expression, I wonder what factors they use in determining
The poorest
the
of the poor.
poorest of the poor.
Because as it stands like this, almost every Nigerian is
Well, poor.
Yes.
Somebody said that the only persons remaining in Nigeria are the people who were denied visa. Everybody has gone. One day they will just sell this country and come and give you your share.
Okay.
Where you go?
Anyway, that's it. But as it stands, because it's biting on everybody.
Yeah.
I know perhaps you drove to come here. You also drove, and how much you bought fuel? I passed today and I got fuel for 950. I look at the meter. I say, oh, 950? That's fine. So now that I'm hearing that black marketers are going for 1,400, it means
This is for today. This
Yes.
has been the 20th day of August 2024.
Yeah.
It might likely go beyond this before the end
because
of the
we
day.
don't know when they
Yes.
More so that these are,
Yes.
the
The
tankers are
tankers,
there and they are not
still
having
there. They're
access
still
to
there.
fuel.
Yes, they're still there.
So if
You can imagine what is going to happen
Mo-
the next couple of days.
then the fear you should have as a driver or as a car owner is do not allow your car to run out of fuel in the night,
Honestly.
because you would
In
have
an event of emergency.
you would definitely have to buy it at 2,000.
That's
Honestly.
it.
Honestly.
That's it. And they're
so
giving you
terrible.
these figures of 950 naira is within the metropolis.
Yeah.
It's within the metropolis.
Yes.
When you go to the Askes here, they're already selling. They're way beyond
Because
1,000.
they are,
This-
they,
this-
they are the
this-
ones buying at
Yes.
950.
Yes.
This issue has a lot of multiplying effects. But the end point is the people at the bottom level.
Yeah. Yeah.
The receivers. I was at Benway Links Company the other week. I think that was last week. To find out how the gentleman there is coping in the face of this fuel shortage in the country. And he lamented so much, I could reason with him. Benway Links is supposed to be a limited liability company.
Yeah.
Under normal circumstances, they are supposed to be posting their profit too. But that company is being run today at a loss. But they dare not close down, because if they decide to pack up, those in the private sector will have to take up the issue, and then travelers will be at their mercy.
Okay, you see, that is the problem. Okay, but let's look at Daily Post. We are gradually, Daily Trust, rather, we're gradually coming to an end, but we'll quickly look at them. Kano Governor, multi-million naira scam. Kano Governor's CSO's, Kwankwaso's nephew, others under probe. You made mention of that. Past governors being probed as well. Just below the nameplate, you have Tinubu flies to France in new presidential jet. Ha! Tinubu is flying to, perhaps is testing and knowing whether the gadget in the new presidential jet is quite. Presidency silent on, you know, even when you buy a car, whatever you buy new, you don't have that feeling of, oh, this is cool. Let me try it and see how it looks like. So the president also, maybe you tell us the result, how it looks like flying a new presidential jet. Okay, experts demand transparency as fuel subsidy. I'm not too sure. But now, it's coming up on Daily Trust. Let's see. 4 policemen killed in Enugu checkpoint attack. Supreme Court reserves judgment in Kogi, Bayelsa, Imo governorship appeals. And the police summon Jero over. Those are the headlines. But we'll quickly just look at this one. President flying to France with new presidential jet. Of course, multi-million naira scam. This is Permanent Secretary Directors, Alcon Chairman summoned. We won't spare anyone. Anti-Corruption Commission's vow. Sometimes you begin to look at this Kwankwaso's issue. Kwankwaso has been a governor way back. His nephew is coming into the play now. Maybe some will say that it's the issue of dragging the ear and the head will come. Something like that. So
Nothing dies in Nigeria.
yeah, so
If you could be the friend of government today, and tomorrow when you become force, the government will go back and dust your fire, then bring it back. And Kwankwaso has mercy. And so we don't know why this thing is happening now. This chief of staff, as well as his nephew, being under probe. So anything happens in Nigeria. So no one is free.
let's go to the Tribune newspaper, and the Tribune newspaper is saying the bold headline here, the banner headline. It's saying crude oil sales in Nigeria to Dangote, orders begin October 1st. First PMS delivery from Dangote expected in September. Okay, okay, the
The
expectation
first one.
expected in September. Okay, Tinubu flies to France in new presidential jet. I don't know why that story is making headline. Okay.
No, it's making headlines
It
because
has
of one,
to.
what happened between Nigeria and France.
Okay.
You know that because France has grounded one of our airplanes, which was a presidential, this is a new one going. So we're going to show France that even if you collect the other ones, you have the capacity to buy a new one. so
I think it's not the same plane that landed in Nigeria day before yesterday. That is the president is testing.
so,
I like the word testing.
Yeah.
like I told you, I think in one of the dailies, they are saying that that plane, that new jet, is already 15 years old. That means that
Yeah.
Nigeria is the third user. That's what they're saying. That's what experts
Yeah,
are saying.
it is because I understand the first person to use that plane was a Saudi prince.
Yeah.
So he ran into difficulties with a financial institution after he could not liquidate his loans.
Yeah.
And so he decided to sell that plane to a German businessman.
Yeah.
And the man enjoyed it and has also decided to give it out.
So are you saying we?
Like
So the
a
next point of call, the next point of call was Nigeria.
Are you saying we bought Tokumbo?
What to come with? That's it. Anyway, but in our own palace, in our own beliefs, it's a
This
new,
is this is a new presidential jet. As far as it is coming, this is the first time it's landing in
Nigeria, yes.
So-
and that's the first time it's been flown by the president.
President.
So it's a
So
presidential
it's having a toga of a president.
Yes.
So
So it's a new one.
I wouldn't go with you that you have.
We don't want to know the source where it was procured, but what we know is that it's
can't
a
buy-
new presidential
we can't buy a
jet. So I know
Tokumbo.
that Nigeria can never buy a Tokumbo.
More or less, I'm buying for the president, but that's fine. It's good that we have the resources to make our president comfortable. It's very important.
We wish him safe flight as he
Amen.
goes
Yeah.
to France and comes back safely.
And then try to make sure that the poorest. I always like that word. The
Yeah.
poorest of the poor.
Also smile.
Also smile. Let's go to the Daily Independent, and time is running. New presidential jet, Daily Independent just picked that story, big one. That is what he's saying here.
Very good.
New presidential jet is 15 years old.
Nigeria
Nigeria's third user. Oh goodness.
You see? So
I
that's what
have-
the experts are saying.
What is coming in my mind is just,
Yeah.
just to
So the experts are lamenting that cost of maintenance will be exorbitant.
Experts lament cost of maintenance will be exorbitant. Tinubu heads to France aboard a new jet replacing old one. Any case, this one is functional. It's better off, perhaps. It's better off than the old one.
And then you can see there where they're saying that subsidy continue of subsidy. Maybe now that NNPC is making that humongous
Amount of cash.
profit, yeah, there's something, some percentage of it should be set aside for back for fuel
We
subsidy.
need to look at what this is coming from Atiku. So this could be an opposition.
The voice.
Well, anyway, I think our last paper will be the new the Nigerian News Direct, and it doesn't carry many difference from much difference from the other ones. NNPC Limited posts highest profit in 46
years, yes.
46 years. So subsidy removal.
And you can see what they're declaring. The newspaper is declaring 2.1 trillion dividends.
Yes.
Others are saying 3.3.
3.3.
I know they said 3.3 profit, but dividend 2.2.
Okay, all
2.1,
right, okay.
2.2.
All right.
So targets 2 million crude oil.
That's 2
production
million production per barrel.
barrel
2
by
million per.
December 2024. Okay, that's good.
That's good.
Appeals for calm amid fuel scarcity. So, well, let's look at this last time. If they are declaring this 3.3 trillion after 46 years, it means the statement, the subsidy regime wasn't helping Nigeria.
Yeah, it wasn't helping Nigeria. You know, nobody has said that the subsidy was helping Nigeria. What that has been our grouse is our concern is that what is the, like I said, the application of this money? Are you applying it in areas of the sectors that are very sensitive that can improve our life? That's what they're asking. If they have done well within for 46 solid years, for you to make this kind of dividend, to make this kind of profit
In 1 year.
in 1 year, it means that if we apply this 3-point-something million into trillion in key sectors of the economy, and Nigerians can come out gladly and say that we are beginning to feel the impact of this government, then we can say that the removal is fine. But when the removal is causing us more pains than it would have been, then you understand. So all we are praying is that as you have declared this dividend, we are also of the belief that you can apply this money in a manner that we will all smile
But I'll
and
ask
not
you,
regret.
I'll ask you, gentlemen, that where do you think will be a major place where this money should go so that we can have, we all smile, Nigerians can all smile? Where should they plow this?
To
cash?
me, you establish certain areas that can generate employment because we need to be employed. You understand? We need employment for our team generation. We have so many graduates that are roaming the streets. Put this in employment. Put this in key sectors of the economy, such as, yes, you can plug back part of it into the refinery. So that as you're employing people that are generating the incomes, they're also buying fuel, they're also getting value out of what they're earning. So petroleum sector is also part of it.
Yeah.
And then you also need to do, you can also help the private sector because the private sector is the one that drives employment. And so you also see how you can also aid the private sector so that they can also generate employment.
Okay.
Because they're the ones that drive the economy. Well, that partnership is not a bad one.
Okay.
Personally, if you ask me, my view would be that one, they should use part of the money to fix our refineries.
Yes.
Secondly, I will also suggest that they should look into the issue of health sector. A lot of doctors, medical doctors, health workers are running out of the country. Some are leaving because the facilities to enable them function well are not there in place. So they want to leave. So we need to put part of that money into the health sector so that we fix it. When our big men are sick, they should be able to avail health services in this country. They don't really need to go out. Of course, university system also needs to be stepped up. It is one of the demands that has to table before the federal government, which they reached an agreement in 2009, that today they are threatening to go on strike. So if the federal government decide to put part of this money into the education sector, I think we'll also have a better a system there.
Indeed. Majorly, they should just concentrate on deploying this cash into the production system of the
economy. Yes.
The agriculture, for instance, in Benue State, we should look at. It's always a very teary situation when you pass in some parts of these orange areas, and you see that a bucket of orange is being sold for how much?
It's gone up to 700 now.
Okay. But you know that the juice in the supermarket.
Yes, far more than about 3,000 to 4,000.
Which maybe three fruits of orange
yeah,
give to you.
can generate, can give you that, yes.
If we begin to look at that, then...
And security sector is very critical.
Yeah, it's also very critical. It's also very critical.
Like the presidential jet we're talking about, if the federal government had used that money to even buy warplanes to fight crime, I think, to me, I would have said Nigeria will enjoy the impact of that investment
I have a problem
better.
with that because the last time President Buhari bought Kano's jets, I've not heard the impact of it. So I think
a good number of them are yet to even get into the country.
Okay, but I think there is so much
I think the clearing takes time.
The corruption we talk about, you said we should look at it holistically in all the sectors.
Yeah,
the military and all of that. So
it
there has to be,
everywhere.
because in West Africa, this sub-region, Nigeria's army is said to be the best. So
but they keep complaining about lack of equipment.
Yes. Apart from the corruption, you also have what is called sabotage. Because sabotage is different from corruption. Corruption, you may be doing it because sometimes purpose of being avaricious. But sabotage is that you know deliberately that this is going to frustrate certain issues, and you go into it.
Okay, we will continue. we would like to continue, go on, but this is where we have to end the program today. I want to sincerely thank Polycarp and former Secretary of NBA, Makodi Branch, and thank Aloysius Umalo, Vaughn, Voice of Nigeria correspondent. Thank you, gentlemen. I'm sincerely very pleased to have you on the program today.
Thank you.
My name is Benjamin Gutav, and see you next time. Bye for now.
Thank you.